From the corners of the internet to the wave signals transmitting through your brain, you are now sinking into All Aware. Preparing transmission signals. Stand by.
Silent scan.
Broadcasting off the grid in Central Texas. This is the All Aware Podcast.
Thank you.
Please stand by for your host, Nathan Roshan.
And welcome to another episode of All Aware. I am Nathan Roshan, and on the program tonight, we're going to talk about what's happening. We are in the first week of June, and things are seeming a little off. We don't have much intel coming in other than what we have provided by the citizen journalists out there that are digging around and researching what they can. We have the citizen journalist Richard in Washington, D.C., who has shown that the buildings in Washington are closed. You're able to confirm this yourself. If you go on Google Maps and you type in the U.S. Capitol, or you type in the IRS building, Washington, D.C., they say temporarily closed. And they are closed. There's no one on the streets. There's nobody that goes there in the morning. And then the White House still shuts down at around 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night. Lights go out, completely dark. And we have had other citizen journalists who have had their eye on that, who can also show that that is happening. And as we had discussed previously, and if you follow the movement and the Q information, you may have heard, and you should be up to speed, on what the virus really was, and also who was behind it, and what the whole purpose of that was, including Event 209 that happened right before the outbreak. That was quite coincidental, if you remember that. We have confirmation from our friends in Australia that the emergency broadcast system happened at the exact same time that we were having a supposed exercise in Washington, D.C. early Monday morning that involved, helicopters, military helicopters, and military personnel and government officials that took place there early that morning. So, what is going on? I think it's what we've all been hoping for, and we've all known that was supposed to happen this summer, and we are taking back our country. Fauci is in the news recently with his emails that are now being released that show that he knew about the virus before the outbreak, and that he also knew that hydrochloroquine and other remedies were available prior to the outbreak. It also shows him discussing this information with Chinese connections, and also shows his participation in the Wuhan lab, which was doing gain of function research on just this type of virus. It also proves that the virus did not come from bats, but was man-made, man-manipulated within the laboratory setting. And now the only thing that hasn't been proven is that the way it was released. But by all means, virologists and other science officials can now say with certainty that it is a biological weapon by all categorizations. They also can show that the vaccines are purely a profit-driven injection that is not even classified as a vaccine by the FDA or any regulatory agency, as that would put an unimaginable amount of pressure and liability on them, since it does not meet any of the requirements that a vaccine needs to meet. Not only that, it has been proven that a nano-type structure exists within the virus, and several videos have shown by user submission to social media websites, Telegram, Twitter, Facebook, of individuals having metallic items such as a little charm or a coin or a keychain thrown at them and sticking to their chest, their arm, or somewhere where it is believed the nanoparticles from the vaccine has encroached within their body or has traveled within their body. So all of the things that supposedly were conspiracy theory and that were insane tinfoil hat theories are beginning to show themselves as true, as anyone who follows the truth and who has awakened to what I have been trying to explain on this podcast and on other podcasts that I'm sure you follow if you enjoy this one. Those items are beginning to come out into the public, which is good. It's going to be hard and it's going to be rough for some section of the world population, but it needs to come out. It needs to come out so that we all can be aware, so we can begin to fight back. And sooner, I think, than later, we are going to overcome this, and we are going to have a beautiful, beautiful world. Now, Sarah, there have been signs that is happening. There have been more people coming out saying that mortgages have been forgiven and other debts. I myself have a debt, a student loan debt, that I was sued for several years ago and have been making a minimal payments to the loan servicer, and have recently had checks returned that says that there is no account on file. When emailing my lawyer who handled that claim, nothing has been returned saying either way what is going on with that. So it is coming, it is here, but there is some more work to be done. So on tonight's episode, when we get back here on All Aware, we're just going to spend the episode discussing current issues that are happening, some current news that we have, and give a war update in this invisible war of good and evil on planet Earth when we get back here on All Aware. So stay tuned. I am Nathan Rusha.
You are listening to the All Aware podcast on the TrueRants network.
We're all having a pretty rough time here in America, and life can be a challenge all on its own. We have good days, bad days, and we deal with situations we neither choose to or even want to be involved in. Oftentimes, people will just tell you that is life, suck it up, and that leaves us feeling even more uncomfortable and less cared for. As a personal development coach, I can tap into the issues that you are having and help you understand what is going on in your life and maybe some roadblocks that you have. If you've ever thought about getting a life coach, personal development coach, counselor, or another service to help understand what's going on and help guide you onto the right track, try Zero to Hero Life. You can reach them at z2hlife.com. Click on Contact, fill out the application, and I will be in contact with you as soon as possible to see what we can do to get you on the right track back to where you want to be in life. That's z2hlife.com.
to All Aware exciting news today as we start seeing some of the things we have known and have shared over the past year coming true and starting to surface in the United States and around the world, showing that maybe patriots are actually in control. Maybe those who love and care about each other and want the best for the citizens or the residents of the countries around the world are starting to show themselves, and the evil deep state cabal that for many was a conspiracy theory, it's starting to show signs of unraveling and of truth behind that scenario. One thing that I would like to share is it's starting to come out that we have a few retiring soldiers who are receiving letters from the President of the United States. This is very customary for those who have spent their lifetime or an extended amount of time, 25 years or so, of their life serving the country in a military capacity. They oftentimes get a letter from the President of the United States thanking them for their service and wishing them well in their endeavors going forward. And it's signed by the current acting President of the United States. Recently, within the past week, on June 6th of this year, 2021, a soldier who was at a send-off for a military friend who had just retired shared a video of what happened at that ceremony and about the letter his friend received from the President of the United States. This is what he said.
So as you can see, I'm in my uniform, and I just got done attending a retirement ceremony for a guy I worked with for a number of years. This gentleman just received a letter of appreciation signed by the United States President, Donald J. Trump. I shit you not, that's exactly what it said on the citation. They read the letter of appreciation, and it said, signed, President of the United States, Donald J. Trump. I don't know what the hell's going on. I've attended literally dozens of retirement ceremonies, and those that receive a letter of appreciation is always signed by the current president. I'm not trying to add fuel to any conspiracy fire. I'm just telling you what I witnessed firsthand. There were a number of people there. Everyone, when that was read out loud, were looking around as confused as I am. If it is what it is, that's awesome.
And we know what it is. We've been telling people for a year or more what is happening and what it is. And he is waking up because he's now realizing it himself. He's seen it himself, this guy who was visiting his friends for his retirement party. And the letters are being signed President Donald J. Trump. That is because Donald J. Trump is the acting commander-in-chief of the United States militaries. He did not concede, and the military, after running its own investigation, determined that President Donald J. Trump was the rightful winner of the 2020 presidential election and should have continued to hold the seat of the President of the United States. Though through corruption and fraud and deep state interference from other countries, another person who was placed in office was given that title. And the military, while they know the truth, the military cannot overthrow a civilian government based on our laws of the United States of America, or the Republic thereof. But what they can do is they can recognize internally who they know is the active president of the United States or commander-in-chief, and they have safeguards which can help them to prevent this unduly elected or this fake president from gaining any kind of power over our military or over our security of the United States. And that is just what they've done. So as I've reported previously, we are under a dual presidency. We have a fake president and team of members who believe they are running the show, but also who know they have no authority and no power over the real United States of America or any of our forces. And you then have the true commander-in-chief, President Donald J. Trump, who is still assisting and giving orders to the military, or I should say, not really giving orders, but giving advice when asked upon. And he still holds, if some drastic measure or war-like tactic was to happen against us, he would be the one that the military gets into contact with to decide what our steps should be. Because it has been proven internally that we, the people of the real Republic of the United States of America, not the corporation masking as our country, which is where Joe Biden and his crony friends reside and have taken over, we've made it clear who our selection to run our republic is, and that is Donald J. Trump. So they, as they are mandated to do by the people of the United States, which is to serve and protect the American people of this country, they are abiding by those wishes. So going forward, you're going to continue to see the unravel of this. You're going to continue to see the destruction of all those who played any kind of role in this, which would be Dr. Anthony Fauci, a lot of the cabinet and people within the government structures, absolutely Biden or his fill-in, whoever it may be. There's been some proof out there showing that there have been masked individuals donning masks that look like Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, and even the speaker, his press secretary, Jen Psaki, however you pronounce her idiotic name, showing that there have been masks. People have been wearing masks and dressing up as these people and showing up in public spots. You can see clearly around the ears, around the back neck area of the mask. You can see where it attaches or velcros and stitches up, where some maybe malfunctions had happened at events and people were able to snap photos of this. I have seen this personally. So as we continue on throughout the summer, and as Kim Clement prophesied in his sermon he gave to his congregation back in, I believe it was 2014, by the winter, all will be known, and by the next year, happiness and joy will fall upon the earth. Stay tuned. We will be right back. I'm going to take another quick break, and we're going to talk a little bit more about the update on the American war against evil. Stay tuned.
You are listening to the All Aware podcast on the TrueRants Network.
If you are a fan of this show and the TrueRants Network, visit us online at TrueRants.net.
Stay up to date on episodes by visiting us online at allawarepodcast.com.
In an email I was able to acquire from one of my groups, the subject was coronavirus bioweapon production method. It was from a guy named Adam Gertner, March 11th, 2020, to Anthony Fauci, NIAID, and it says, "Hello, Anthony. This is how the virus was created. Intervirion fusion, HIV, look, ACE2, 500 nanograms of P24 was mixed with 1,000 nanograms of P24 of HIV, GFP, particles incorporating AS-LVA envelope, SARS-CoV-S protein, or both envelopes in PBS at 4 degrees Celsius for 30 minutes to allow binding. Samples were raised to 37 degrees Celsius for 15 minutes to allow for conformational rearrangements. Virions were adjusted to the desired pH with 0.1 millimeter citric acid, PBS TBCK typsin, final concentration 10 GIG/ml. And it goes on from there. It's very scientific, so neither myself nor probably you will get all of those measurements and degrees, but we can understand the language in between that says this is how the virus was created and how they used HIV proteins and particles and mixed them with SARS-CoV proteins that existed in already existing SARS viruses to make a bioweapon known as SARS-CoV-2, or in our world, coronavirus or COVID-19. As these emails continue to come out, there will be no other recourse but to remove these people from their positions of authority and of influence, charged with crimes against humanity, sedition, fraud, and the mass murder or genocide of thousands of people across the planet. Luckily, while this bioweapon didn't have maybe the scope of influence that those responsible for it wanted, it did, however, panic a nation and a world into some loss of life, in addition to the life that was taken by the created bioweapon. This is going to be a big part of what comes out in the next months. It is my projection, and it's going to help open the can of worms surrounding child abduction and the rituals that had been used to enslave and keep these children, women, and other individuals locked down and out of away from families and used as private pleasure items. The entire disgusting secret world of the most elite is soon to be brought to the surface where we will have to deal with it. We will have to acknowledge the disgusting, inhumane things that neither you or myself could even potentially in our worst day think of doing or even imagine could happen. We're going to have to accept this. We're going to have to get angry. We're going to have to stand up and say no. And then we're going to have to unite. We're going to have to use love and appreciation and connectedness to destroy this evilness that has been allowed to manifest and has been allowed to grow to an enormous, uncontrollable level of power. But we can do that. And it will be very easy in one sense, maybe not physically for all of us, but energetically, it only takes one thing to destroy evil, and that is love. Something that evil doesn't understand because it isn't consciously able to understand. It doesn't know what love is. It doesn't know what caring is. All it knows is it wants to control It wants to feed, and it wants to be feared. When you take that away from evil, it has no power and it cowers before you because love is God. Connectedness is the true nature of our planets, our world, and our universe. So, remember that as things start to unfold, there may be some last ditch attempts from this evil cabal, this deep state that might try to regain control, regain power, or fear you into submission, because that is what it knows. That is what it does. It doesn't know any other way. But see, when you love, when you care, there are several ways you can love and care for another human being, for your world, for the universe, for creation. There is only one way to hate, and that is where our stronghold is. It is together. It is loving each other. It is lifting each other. It is caring for and being there for each other. That is what they are ultimately afraid of, and what they have successfully been able to control for hundreds and hundreds of years. But thanks to our planet moving into a different phase of our universe and of humanity growing consciously to understand more and more of what existence is and why it is, that we are able to overcome this. One part of this that is going to happen, that is going to help us fight this, is when we get the evil, corrupt, disgusting bed of evil out of the supposed White House. By the end of the summer, when it's found that the election was a fraud, there will be no choice but to give the presidency, the civilian part of the presidency, over to the rightful winner, which was Donald J. Trump. When he returns as the civilian leader of the free world, that will begin to make it a little easier for us to come back and fight this evil corruption. During a Dallas Memorial Day weekend event at the For God and Country rally, Sidney Powell was on stage discussing what it would be like, what it should be like if President Trump, if the election was found to be fraudulent, what would happen to President Trump, what should happen, and this is what she said.
Simply be reinstated, that a new inauguration date is set. And Biden is told to move out of the White House, and and President Trump should be moved back in. I'm sure there's not going to be credit for time lost, unfortunately, because the Constitution itself sets the date.
And as you can see, she's stating that that's how it should happen. And by all means, I believe that's how it would happen. There would not be any other way, right? Because if the election was so fraudulent, first of all, we have no time for another election. The next election would be for the 2024 presidency. It's going to be close to coming up on the second year by the time all this gets, cleared up. And that just wouldn't make any sense. Election, why would we vote? Vote for who? Who would be running? The candidates were supposedly Joseph Biden and the current president from the last presidency, Donald J. Trump. Why would we re-vote? It was real clear. I don't think we need a vote. If you go outside on any corner of this nation that isn't controlled by these, puppets, you're going to see miles and miles and miles of citizens standing for Donald J. Trump as president. So, once this happens, it will give more flame, it will give more fuel to some of those people who still are kind of on the fence or don't think that they have the power to do anything about what's currently going on. But you do, and you must. And just like the Revolutionary War, this is our Revolutionary War. We don't have to go onto the battlefield with muskets and stand in a line waiting to be shot and killed. We have advanced a little bit more. This is a digital Revolutionary War. This is a war using psychological operations and manipulation and propaganda. This is a battle of your mind, your physical body, and your soul. So that's what you have to use to fight for what you want and what you believe in.
This is when you wake up that intuition, that little voice in the back of your head that tells you, I don't know about this, or it might say, you need to do this, or that might be your best option, or this don't sound right, this don't seem right. It's time to wake that up, bring it to the forefront of your mind, and listen and grow from it and fight. Fight for your freedom, for your rights, for peace, for love, and for an amazing future. Because it has been established, there are amazing things that are possible. We have so much potential, now even more than ever, to make our world what we want. We are at the precipice of that decision, of coming up with what we want and gearing our world that way. The world is in disarray. Everyone is confused and doesn't know what to believe, where to turn, what to do. A lot of people feel like the governments that they entrusted with their authority and with power are not in it for their best interest. And you would be correct. Because we stepped out of the government, we stepped out of the transparency necessary to make sure everything was kosher. The world allowed a certain group of people to take over operations. And as long as on the surface everything seemed to be legit, no one said a damn thing. And as long as you were getting money in your little piggy bank, your car was driving down the road, your kids were going to school, babies were being born in the family, and growing and becoming beautiful human beings, no one said a damn thing. But guess what? We're now at a point when that is at stake. When your own very family, your own very lives are at stake. And now we have no choice, but every person needs to stand up and say what you want. Say what you feel. And not let someone else divide you by statements. You see, the one thing I don't get is when people quote things from a news agency or some talking head or figurehead, and it's like, who believes that? Who says that? And you ask and they go, well, CNN said it, or Fox News said it, or this doctor who is in charge of this organization, he said it. Did he? Have you wrote to him and asked him, hey, why did you say this? You'll probably get a different answer. No one is going to fess up and directly take blame for anything because it's all bullshit and fraud. they're not going to do it. Because no one wants their face on this corruption, on the fraud that has happened and is taking place. And it's always they. It's always, well, they said, they did, these people are requiring, even when you, back in the pandemic when you used to go to the restaurants or to the stores and you try to get in, and if you didn't have a mask or a face shield or, whatever, they said, oh, well, you need to, it's required you put that on. It's required you wear that. And sometimes, it was required you had gloves or whatever. Well, who's requiring this? And I've asked this, and the employees go, oh, well, the government. Oh, the government's requiring this? Who specifically? Well, they said on the news that it's now a requirement. They. There it is again. They, the government, them. Well, my manager, talk to your manager. Why is he requiring it? Well, the owner requires it. Why is the owner requiring it? Because they are requiring it. Who is they? And this is how you should handle these situations. Until someone can specifically point you to the source that is mandating that you take your freedoms or that you give up a certain freedom for some unknown, unverified, unvalidated claim, then you don't do it. I was in a position back when this started where I visited certain, I don't want to get too specific, just, you never know where this will go at the and who will cut and paste and redo this, try to make me sound something I'm not. But I used to go to different establishments and part of my daily position, and they required, some of them, not all of them were very strict, some of them required masks and things like that. I never wore mine. Never did. Nope. Now, if I would go into a grocery store or something, I would occasionally wear one because I felt, well, if they're requiring this, it's just like if they required you to wear a yellow shirt or, shoes and a t-shirt on the beach. When you go to the restaurants and stuff on the beach, they always say, no shoes, no shirt, no service. That's understandable. That's your right as a business to tell people, hey, look, we don't want your funky asses in here, unclothed, sloppy feet, slipping around, put the stuff on, right? So I kind of took that, and if I would go to a store, sometimes, not always, it just depends on my mood, I would wear one. Now, when I was at work, no, I'm not going to wear one. I'm not going to wear one 8, 10, 15 hours a day. No matter what I'm doing, not going to wear one. Don't need to. And I would sometimes, a few times, it didn't take long. It doesn't take long. But a few times I had to stand my ground. I had to speak my truth. And I had to get other people involved. Sometimes this had to do with getting my management involved, who had to get in contact with the management, I'm talking upper management of the establishments I used to visit, and say, hey, this is the situation, this is what this individual says and his beliefs, and I had to get it approved a couple times that way. Now, like I said, it didn't take long, because unfortunately, apparently I'm the outlier, so word spread quickly that if this guy shows up, he's not fucking wearing a mask. He'll just stand in the parking lot or wherever until you make contact. And if you don't make contact, he'll just call his management and say, hey, look, I'm here. They're not willing to allow me to conduct my business, and throw it back on you. So, anyways, it doesn't take much. It just takes a little bit. It just takes a little bit, and it has to make sense. You can't be all crazy out there, wild, and like you see some of these videos and TikToks and YouTubes and all these Snapchats of people out in the street doing dumb stuff, hissy fitting around, rolling around on the ground, screaming and crying and having little hissy fits about their belief systems because something's not going their way. That's disgusting, and that isn't going to work. You have to be legit and intelligent about it, and you have to calmly voice your case. That's it. That's all you got to do. So my point is, to get back to this, right now, what we all need to do and what we are doing, this is happening all over the country. I still travel occasionally across the country. I'm in Texas. I also have, I'm from Ohio, so I have connections there in Ohio, and I've been back a few times. I've also been out to California. I've been to Las Vegas. I've been around the country in recent weeks and months, and this is happening. People are stepping up and just calmly stating their opinion or putting their foot down and standing ground on our common beliefs and our common goals. That's it. That's all it takes. It isn't just the American citizens and the world citizens that are fighting back. We also have, thank God, although a few, we have some very powerful people in the federal government, in Congress, in the Senate, that are also taking up arms against the fraud and against the attempt to overthrow the American way of life. And here is, I want to share, this is Senator Marsha Blackburn. She was at a press conference, and someone asked her about Dr. Fauci and the NIAID, and here was her response to what was asked when she was talking about Dr. Fauci earlier.
And then also, I saw your release yesterday about firing Dr. Fauci. Can you just talk a little bit about that on the internet?
Sure. I think that it is appropriate that Dr. Fauci step aside from his responsibilities at the NIAID and that he make himself available to Congress to find out exactly how was he in cahoots with Mark Zuckerberg and big tech. What transpired there? Did the American people hear some truth, but not the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Why was there not timeliness of acknowledgement of concerns around the lab? Why was there not more of a concern around Wuhan saying you cannot go anywhere else in China, or the Chinese Communist Party saying you can go nowhere else in China if you're from Hubei province or you're from Wuhan, but you can travel the globe everywhere but China.
Yeah, so everyone is starting to see through, finally, what a lot of us have been saying since the beginning of this. And it's not making sense, is it? So, stay tuned and start to find your niche. Use whatever your tools are, your resources, and your skill sets are to find where you fit in this fight and help to. It's real simple. It doesn't take a lot of energy, a lot of effort, but just stand up, be heard, be seen, and let people know. Let this evil cabal know that we're not taking this anymore, and that this is our country, this is our world. We are good people. There is no systemic racism in the world. There is no systemic prejudice in the world against gays, lesbians, transgendered, whoever. It is all fabricated to diversify a people so we can be controlled, because together we are strong, but separated into different cliques and groups, just like in your high school. If you remember, in your high school, there were, the goth kids, and then there was the cheerleaders and the football players, and, there were the band geeks, and there were the smart ones that always got 4.0s and A's and everything, and you had the average people, the C students, everybody else. And everybody was in some kind of clique or some kind of group. That's what they're trying to make the world. But see, do you remember, if you went to college, that all changed, didn't it? There were no more cliques and groups and all that stuff, because everybody was an individual who came to the campus for one purpose. And it was an education. And it was to experience life, to have fun, to potentially find a romantic partner, and to move on with your life. And that is what we need to remember and try to do for this world, is live more like when we were in college, when we were accepting of most others. Yeah, you still had, these certain sororities and fraternities. You also had, your sports teams, and they had their groups, and, you had your band, and people, everyone had different passions and different things. But in college, opposed to high school, it isn't a visceral community. It is a more joined together community, and all those different organizations helped each other out, and all those different organizations worked together. The band people and the football players, they would join groups and do special events. The fraternities and sororities would also join together, help other causes and things like that. That's what we need to do. They're trying to get us to act like high school. We need to be acting like what it was like in college. But that is my episode today. I just wanted to come on and talk. It's been a little bit. So I wanted to come on and give you a short shout of what is going on, and that there is some good coming down the way. There are those who are fighting to, fighting to rejoin the world and our citizenry. And good things are coming. Just you wait. And until next time, I am Nathan Roshan. And like always, you are all aware. Good night.